Well, it's good to be here. So, a couple of us were talking at the meal, a couple of teachers about. Well, anyway, the great autumn koan is, a student asked Yunmen, when the tree withers and the leaves fall, what is that? And Yunmen said, the autumn wind, the golden wind is revealing itself, manifesting itself. And the Cleary brothers, who did the really good, the only complete translation of the Cliff record that we have that's workable, they called it body exposed in the golden wind. What they meant by body, they were translating a word that just means the body of form, the totality of form. Do I sound louder now? But just to me. The universe exposed in the golden wind. Pause for the AV to have a tantrum. So this is a famous koan because it's beautiful, I think. The golden wind is manifesting itself. And it's also by a famous teacher who noted for his elegance and force. And so I think one of the amusing things that was said about this teacher is the teacher liked to use the thief's horse to chase the thief, like to ride the thief's horse. So, when the tree withers and the leaves fall, what's happening? The golden wind is revealing itself. And so I've been thinking about autumn. Autumn is the month of thoughtfulness, or the season of thoughtfulness. And it was different in different places, But here, you get these great, very clear bands of sky, and it feels like a dharma thing. You're looking through it. You're looking into the transparency of the universe. And I've been thinking how autumn is, the poignancy of autumn is partly because it can be beautiful where in Sonoma County, where I live, we live, it's vineyards, and the vineyards are just all turning right now. And it's interesting because sometimes the grapes are just hanging there for a couple of weeks before they get picked, and they're hanging there. Oh, they're not picking them. Grape market must be bad, that sort of thought, But then they disappear in the night because people pick at night. And so the next morning you go out and there's no red grapes on the vines, but the beautiful multicolored leaves. So there's that. But it's all mixed up with loss. Years ago, when Bob Hass started out a poem, became well known, where he said, all the new thinking is about loss. In this it resembles the old thinking. His contribution to philosophy. So I've been thinking of, in a way, Yunmen is saying it is exactly as it is. Thusness is one of the words that was used, it's been used a lot in Buddhism, and it comes out of I guess it comes out of the Pali originally, and Sanskrit. Svaha, it says in the Heart Sutra, is thus. And I suppose if you think about it, pretty much you look at your hand. Go ahead, nothing bad will happen to you. And you see it's thus. Look at someone else's hand. It's thus. And the sounds, if you're hearing the sounds, they're thus. And we realize that when we think of them as thus, it stops us decorating things. And thinking, having a lot of thought forms about them, putting a cage of elaborate thoughts around them. And so I think that this koan and the autumn koans, the notion of loss is in there. But it's also the notion of emptiness, a very Buddhist idea that tree with its little leaves fall is a kind of metaphor for emptiness. And emptiness is when you think, oh, the world is really substantial, and you realize, oh, it's not that substantial. And that's kind of freeing, because the things that fall away when the tree withers and the leaves fall, they're mainly our thoughts about things and how we arrange things and little cages we put ourselves into, to make the world make sense. Can you hear me with this thing? Oh, excellent. Good, let's keep it that way. Let me know if it changes. So we spend so much time, assembling the world to make ourselves feel like we got it right. We explained it right. And also to justify ourselves. We're not very good at something. One has I have a tendency to pretend to myself that actually I'm pretty good at it. People don't always understand me, of course. Things like that, but it's all right not to be good at something. That's all we don't understand. That we don't understand that it's okay already. So emptiness says it's okay already, even if you're not important, or even if your friend even if your friend thinks you're an idiot, it's okay. Your friend, she or she might be right, and it doesn't matter. It's all right. Here's the universe, the body exposed, the golden wind revealing itself. So the notion of the transformation of things, how they become beautiful. The grapes are there, beautiful, red Pinot Noir up in the elevations where I am, being harvested, and and the leaves are beautiful, and so the whole thing, the voluptuous quality of autumn is there, but then it's gone and it's cold, and the wind's running through. And we're sitting in here listening to the rain, which is, fortunately we had a good cone for that. Who is hearing the rain? Who is hearing that sound? But it's a profound transformation. And so the koan tradition has a lot of that stuff. And like in the very first koan in the Blue Cliff Record, famously, the emperor says, what's the first principle of the holy teaching? And Bodhidharma, this wandering Indian sage, says, vast emptiness, nothing holy. So it's not holy. There isn't really a principle because it's empty. You know. What's the first principle of my hand? About my foot. So, vast emptiness, nothing holy. This was unexpected. The emperor was thinking he'd have a nice philosophical conversation. Also, be congratulated for endowing so many temples. Always a good thing. Thank the emperor. As we know from prisons, emperors like to be thanked. But this sage had suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and he said, it's an unexpected thing. And so the infinity of instructions and known objects starts to disappear like the autumn leaves. And Bodhidharma. And then the emperor says, well, who are you standing here in front of me? Who are you? He doesn't realize he's being a Zen master. He says, who are you? And Bodhidharma says, I do not know. It's even more unexpected. And nothing really happens there. The whole interaction feathers down. Sort of, the story says, somewhat tactfully, the emperor could not reach an accord. You know what it's like when you can't, you know. When I first started koans, I think, I get it. I'd go in and see the teacher and say, I get it. And I didn't have it. And so I'd go back again. Okay, I got it, I get it. Oh, it's not here again. And so I couldn't reach an accord. You know? It's all right. It's all right not to reach an accord. But, and there's no shame in it, but if you're an emperor, you probably think there is. And it's hard to be an emperor. And to imagine that the world has a vastness that is beyond you. No matter how powerful you are, there's a vastness. And that's what emptiness is a vastness that's beyond all our accomplishments. You know. There's also our shame for not accomplishing things. You know, shame is a big thing in the spiritual path, right? So, and then defending ourselves, which relates to shame. Actually, I'm really good. I got it. Never mind. And so, and when Bodhidharma said, I do not know, then, you know, everybody, in Australian sports, if the umpire misses something, somebody, you mug. Blind Freddie could have seen that, you know. And so I think Blind Freddie can tell that this is an important thing. I do not know. Blind Freddie's probably pretty smart, you know. And I do not know. And then later, and so Bodhidharma leaves, and you know, he goes elsewhere. Crosses the great river, and then the emperor has this really cool advisor who says, do you know who that was? He says, no, I don't. And he says, that was the great Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara on the altar up here with all the arms and eyes and things. Bearing the mind seal of the Buddha. And it's recorded that the emperor felt regret and wanted to send after the visitor to bring him back. But the duke said, his advisor, who was a shaman, said, it's no use, even if you sent the whole kingdom after him, he would not return. And so that's it, even if you sent the whole kingdom after those leaves, they would not go back on the trees. Even if I sent the whole kingdom after my childhood. That exam I didn't do well in college, the exam wouldn't go back into the records in a better way, or all that stuff, right? It's kind of awesome. The finality is an awesome thing. It's actually on our side. And so, and there's a lot of this stuff, later on, after Bodhidharma died, there was a high official well into the interior of China and in the mountains in the interior. And he met Bodhidharma. He didn't know Bodhidharma was there, but he met him. But he was only wearing one shoe. And, and Bodhidharma was just heading back to India where he'd come from. And the high official thought, well, it's great sage, I mean, do what he does, right? And then he went on and he went in, some long months later, he got into the court and reported that Bodhidharma had seen Bodhidharma with one shoe. And I think he was put in prison for a while for lying. But then they dug up Bodhidharma's coffin, and indeed, the only thing in it was one shoe. Which is like something about the irrevocability. You'll never get that shoe back. And then you'll never get Bodhidharma to come back either. And another story that somehow in my mind floats around with these stories that is on the Great River, there was a tavern on the river. Across from the Isle of Parrots. And a strange old man used to come in and drink there along with everyone else. He had long white hair and his clothes were from a previous time. He never had any money, and the owner of the tavern never asked him for any. And he came in and he'd have a drink and sing with everybody. He'd come in a lot. And that was the state of affairs, till one day he took an orange and he used the peel and drew a yellow crane on the wall, and then he left. And after this, when the customers sang and clapped, the crane would flap on the wall, would flap his wings and dance. Naturally, the bar became famous and the owner grew rich. Then after about 10 years, the old man walked in again. He didn't look very different. Still had those antiquated clothes. And the bartender just gave him a drink again. Some sake. And everybody watched. And the old man took out a flute from his robe and played a few notes and played a song. And then a white cloud appeared and the crane flew down from the wall. And the old man climbed onto the back of the crane and they rode off on the cloud, vanishing into the sky. And it's quite probable that you couldn't persuade him to come back. Something else. It's like the autumn leaves. He will never come back, no matter what you offer. He's gone off into the sky with his flutes and the birds. And a tower was built there, and it became called Yellow Crane Pavilion or Yellow Crane Tower, kind of famous place. And people would visit it. And Kui Hao wrote long after this, wrote of the feeling of evening on the riverbank. Long ago, someone rode off on the yellow crane, and all that remains is this yellow crane pavilion. Once it's gone, the yellow crane will never come again. For 1,000 years, the white clouds wander on. The shining river reflects the ginkgo tree. We have some ginkgo leaves on the altar, we did. Reflects the ginkgo tree. The shining river reflects the ginkgo tree. The spring grass is fragrant on the Isle of Parrots. At evening, which path leads home? In the river mist, I can't help feeling sad. He misses the crane and the old guy who went 1,000 years before. Later, another great poet said, farewell to a friend of this place. Well, somebody asked Li Bai just before to write a poem about the Yellow Crane Pavilion, and he said, I don't know, somebody already did it. It's kind of sweet, isn't it? You can't get that back either. The finality, the beauty of the finality. And then another poet said farewell to his friend of this place. And it's where it's where you leave the West. And you're coming back to China proper. You know. And my old friend says goodbye in the West at Yellow Crane Pavilion. Through April mist and blossoms, he goes down to Yangzhou. His lonely sail disappears in the blue emptiness, and all I see is the long river flowing to the edge of the sky. It's a spring poem, it's an autumn feeling, isn't it? That sense of turning in. You know, Basho said, autumn deepens, my neighbor. I wonder what she's doing. I wonder what they're up to. How are they? That feeling of intimacy with autumn. And the heart opening and the feeling of connection with each other. And, you know, so I guess the thing, I don't know what to say here, but what do we lose? Everything, nothing. You know, I've always loved this. People have very different views of Basho, the guy who fundamentally founded the haiku tradition. You know, haikai, haiku. The notion of having, you know, season references and things in the haiku. And Mayumi Oda, the painter whose work we have here sometimes, said, I hate Basho, he's so depressed. He's always talking about loss and so on. Not to us, it feels very rich. And another friend of Dave Chadwick said, "Oh, he just went around and drank all the time with his friends." I said, "Oh, Basha had a real feeling for friendship, I think." And his lover died, and he was always on a pilgrimage. He was always traveling. He was a restless soul, He'd go off to visit friends, and they'd have a moon viewing party, and he'd write a few poems. And if they didn't like him, they'd ask him for more, and he'd get pissed off. The usual stuff, just like your life. And and so, but anyway, he was off traveling with one of his lover's sons, and she was a nun. They were very close, and it's not, we don't know really what their relationship was like, but they were intimate friends. And then she died. He got news that she died. And she'd had a difficult life, or he thought she had. And he was at the Festival of the Dead, or the Festival of Souls. He said, with this poem, "Never think of yourself as someone who did not count." The Festival of the Souls. It's quite nice, isn't it? You can tell he really cared about her. And so the true person of no rank is someone who counts. So I think we can stop there. And the autumn wind, the tree withers, and the leaves fall. What is happening? The golden wind is revealing itself. The golden wind reveals itself in your own heart. So, and the Chinese, they're always traveling around because if you passed the exams or you became notable in some way, they'd put you in charge of something. Then you had to travel like 1,000 miles to be in charge of it. And then all sorts of things. Then you're away from the court. Someone would conspire against you in the court, and then you'd be sent down south to the malaria lands, by the river, by the ocean. And so they were traveling a lot. And then somebody else would whisper in the emperor's ear and say, "That was all lies, about Lipo." And it was, "Oh, really? Well, let's send him and recall him back." So they'd recall him back. Come back with malaria from the south. But it wasn't just a fault in the culture, it was just the way the culture was set up. It was very complex, interesting, learned culture. But in order to be a governor or something like that, they just need lots and lots and lots of people to run it. One of the great bureaucracies. And so you get shifted around a lot. Which happens sometimes in corporate lands now, corporate places now. So nobody knows where Li Bai died. He was a guy whose friend was going down the river, And, he got kind of exiled, and then they called him back, and I don't know, he didn't get the message, or he was sick of them or something. He disappeared heading west, like a lot of people. Lao Tzu disappeared through that same pass, heading west. And there was an official who was guiding them there, and he dreamt a sage appeared at the pass coming west. And so he went down and waited, and sure enough, Lao-Zi turned up. And he recognized him. You could tell there was something about this guy. I don't know. You don't look like an ordinary traveler to me. I'm just saying. And and so, he fed him and put him up, and then he dictated the Tao Te Ching. And then he kept going west. And we never heard from him again. He had been the official librarian. He had been an imperial librarian, and he got sick of that too. So there's always that restlessness of the human life. The trees withering, the leaves falling. Friends changing their minds about you, whatever it is, all sorts of things, Well, it's all right. The universe is allowed to have the leaves fall, all that sort of thing. So now, having promised to stop, I'll fulfill my promise. Thank you. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything? You got 3 refusals, I'll call it good. Thank you very much.